Okay. You good? All right. So good morning. My name is Sarah Holsted, and I work at Southeastern. By day, I am the Hospital Library Services Program Manager, lots of words. And by night, I am a Master Gardener volunteer with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Ulster County. And so that's going to play a big, that has a lot to do somewhat with what we're talking about today. But I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Moshe Siegel, and he's going to do the first part of the presentation.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm Moshe, the office manager here at Southeastern. So today we are presenting on a project that we have going on here at Southeastern, turning the page for pollinators. And this is a project that we believe you can accomplish at your library or institution as well. And this is a project supported by Partners for Climate Action Hudson Valley. And there'll be links throughout the presentation here. When you get this in your hands, you can go and click and find out more about the things we're going to be talking about. So first, big picture, what are we up to? Southeastern is a member of SLI, and thankfully Claudia got us ahead of the game here in explaining what that means. We just put a little snippet of their mission statement here as is relevant to the presentation today. And as you heard in Claudia's presentation, SLI is about more than just being eco-friendly, though our ongoing work to get greener here at Southeastern aligns with those aspects of the initiative's goals. For example, inside we have been upgrading our light bulbs to LEDs. We've replaced all 3 of our furnaces and AC systems here with high efficiency units. We have pivoted meetings from paper to digital. As Carolyn mentioned, those who were here at SunnyCon 1 through 5 or 6, got huge stacks of paper, programs, and things. Now you get QR codes. And we've begun to compost our coffee grounds and tea and food scraps. Now, looking at the outside of the building, which you all saw on your way in, it looks a little different than perhaps the last time you were here, if you've been here before. We did not previously have a budget for major renovations outside. We'll touch on our new opportunity in a moment. But we did do some incremental interventions in the property. So we have sort of the good, the bad, and the meh outside. Good, we have some milkweed. It was, we believe it blew over from a neighboring property. We began in 2024 to nurture that, to let the landscapers know to leave it alone. We put up some signage. You can see the little yellow signs to mind our monarchs, because monarch butterflies feed on the milkweed. So on your way out on the right, you'll see last year's milkweed. We brought the signs in for the winter, but it'll be back. We also, thanks to having a master gardener on staff, we planted some mountain mint switchgrass. Of course, this is among the invasive barberries and junipers, which were not doing anybody any good, and which are no longer there. But you can see them in posterity in these pictures. Our property has so much potential. So our project goal was to reclaim the inherent assets of our property to provide a net positive impact to the local ecosystem. You can see on the left there some of those barberries, and then on the right we have some echinacea with a monarch, feasting. So that's a good sign there. So here we have the motive and the opportunity. So rather than say challenge and opportunity, we're motivated to do better here. So we had soil that was compacted by layers of landscape fabric, which is still there but is going to be removed. So our opportunity there is to remediate and sustain the soil food web. We have the invasive barberries and other vectors here. So we're going to take those out and install site-appropriate native plants. The lawn is a lawn, it's cropped, it's mowed too much, it's patchy and dusty during droughts. So our efforts to replace the lawn with some other stuff we're going to talk about in a second will reduce our reliance on gas-powered lawn equipment. And our property is visible. We have Lowe's right across the street, we have weekend warriors, we have contractors, we have gardeners coming by. So by remediating our property and demonstrating good stewardship, that will get the idea out there. We're also going to put a nice big banner along the road so Lowe's people can see it when they come out. So that all leads to the opportunity that we had, which is a grant funded by Partners for Climate Action, Hudson Valley. Our title is for the project, Turning the Page for Pollinators. This is an Ecological Restoration Award, and also congrats, shout out to Vassar College and Red Hook Public Library, who also were recipients of the 2025 round of awards. So the range is March of this year to February of next year. We have about 15 grand to play with. A third of it's going to go for site prep. The rest will be for plants. And this also, one of the resources we're using, which is also funded by the Partners for Climate Action, is the Hudson Valley Pollinator Action Guide. Very helpful resource, how-to guides, things like that. So definitely check that out. when you're all inspired to do this at your institutions by the end of this presentation. And you can see here we've already begun. We collected soil samples from around the property, sent that out to Rutgers for a very reasonable fee to see what we may need to do to our soil to make it viable. We have project plans submitted to the master gardeners who are consulting with us on best practices. They're also going to be helping us along the way to do plantings and things like that. We have a LibGuide. You can scan the QR code here, or you can see in the picture here, we had those little signs outside on the walkways. QR codes on those as well for anyone who's interested. And you can see the one of our landscaping partners tearing out the invasive plants at the top there. That was very satisfying to see happen. So here is our project timeline. This could serve as an example for how this trajectory might work for one of your institutions as well. We're currently in the February, March to April zones, consulting with the gardeners, determining our plants, sampling the soil, got the signage out, working with our landscaper. That will move into actually purchasing the plants we've decided on, getting them in the ground. We're working out the insurance details of having volunteers come to help us plant, but there'll be 2 planting sessions throughout the year. Where we're hoping to get some members and volunteers in to get their hands dirty. We're going to be solarizing our lawn, which will be covering it with tarps to knock it down so that it can then, in the fall, become a wildflower meadow in place of a lawn, which we're very excited about. And then as we get, we're going to maintain the property, we're going to have another round of planting, and then we'll continue outreach and present a final report to our funder on how it all went. Look at that. This is our segue. This is our attention refocusing segue as Sarah is going to get into some more of the technical scientific aspects of our project here.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Moshe.
come on.
All right. So thank you. And you say office manager, but I say facilities coordinator. And
Yes, that's it.
making everything happen. So we couldn't do this without you.
Oh, thank you.
So you're not just
Can make a heck of a phone call to the landscaper, I tell you.
That's what we need right now. So okay, so I love this slide. We had to figure out how to work it in.
Yeah.
Okay, so Moshe gave you an overview of the project, and it is still early days. And so we're hoping to come back next CineCon and tell you like lessons learned, what we thought went well, what we were like, oh my goodness. And so we really, part of the focus of this presentation is like, you can do this at your library. But Moshe just used some words that don't necessarily go with libraries, like watering and weeding, landscapers, master gardeners, delivering plants, planting plants. But there are some words on this wordle that libraries do know about, which are budgets and volunteers and insurance. So this is not a new thing. It's just think of it as expanding the range of your focus. Big picture, like, why are we doing this? So thanks to Google Maps, we have these snapshots of the Southeastern building, the top, and this is not a before and after. This is very much an in-process thing, but I wanted to talk you through it. So the top picture is from July of 2012. And so you're going to hear me say like barberries, so many barberries. But the other thing that you'll notice is we have a nice big green lawn. You'll notice that our roof needs to be replaced. So this is where we started. And then swing around to the bottom picture in September 2023, we're still very much in process. We had a balance left over from a previous landscape contractor. And so they pulled all of those barberries out for us. But what the picture on the bottom doesn't show is all the barberries like around to the side. So why am I harping about the barberries? So they are on the DEC Department of Environmental Conservation. They're on their invasive species list. And so once they move in, they disturb the land where they're at. And so Southeastern is a quarter mile to the west of the Swartikill, and it's a watershed. And so birds will eat the berries from the barberries and just distribute them. And so when they take them, it just makes the problem even worse. Barberries are also part of the vector system for ticks and tick-borne diseases. So not cool, and it really hurts when they stick you. So right, another big picture of why we're doing this, the price of gasoline is going up, but and also to maintain the landscaping in that you see at the top of the picture involved not just lawnmowers and leaf blowers, but a lot of hedge trimmers, and trimming those barberries and the junipers into sticks and balls, which gets into the design refresh. As we were putting this project together, we learned that the landscaper who built the person who built the building is the one who installed these plantings. Like, they didn't care. This is just, what they went across the street to and just bought. So, and again, what we're thinking about here is the stewardship of our land. Southeastern was able to pay off our building in January. So we own this. This is exciting. But we're not just stewarding everything you see in these pictures, we're stewarding the area around us. So one of the ways that we're going to build back better is to plant native plants. And so there's a couple of ways, you'll hear a lot of talk about native plants and like, what's a native? So there's a couple of ways to interpret this. I just want to skip to the bottom. And a native plant is one that is co-evolved with local flora and fauna, and it forms relationships with those flora and fauna, and it forms dependencies. And so when there's an imbalance, like when the barberries move from our site over to the Swartikill stream banks, it has an impact on the whole ecosystem. And so those barberries are replacing other plants that can't outcompete it. The deer don't browse the barberries, so they don't knock it down. And so the pollinators or the small mammals or the birds who depend on other plants now just look out and they see a sea of barberry, or they look at our lawn and just see a sea of grass, and there's nothing there for them. So who's a pollinator? Because that's the other part of our equation. So bees are pollinators. I understand that New York has more than 200 species of bees, and a lot of them are solitary bees. Honeybees, which are from Europe, are the ones that live in colonies. So when you think about pollinators, it's not just little bees that you see in the hives. Butterflies, everybody loves a butterfly. Who doesn't love butterflies? Think about moths. Moths are like nighttime butterflies. They are also pollinators. So if you see a plant in the summer that's blooming white and it starts to get fragrant in the evening, the moths are the ones that are coming to those plants. Also, ants are pollinators, and wind and water. So this seems like a simple list, but it's to put in your mind that there are connections all around. So really, what does this all mean in terms of putting it together? And so when I give like garden presentations, I always make sure to show this slide of the food web, because that's really what it's all about. We depend on pollinators to pollinate the plants that make our food. And so by using native plants that support pollinators, we're restoring the foundation of the food web for our site and for the surrounding area. So fun fact, baby birds eat caterpillars. They do not eat the bird seed at your feeders. Their parents eat the bird seed. So keep feeding them, keep feeding the parents. But we're doing this, for the plants and for the pollinators. Okay, so where can you start at your library? You can start small. You do not have to do the full-on tabula rasa that we're doing all around our property. You could do this in containers. Think about planning to support the pollinator life cycle year round. So you see them as you go into the office, feeding on the plants, but think about where they sleep, think about where they're going to overwinter, think about where their eggs are going to overwinter. And so that affects not only your plant choices, maybe you want to plant some grasses for them to kind of take shelter in and lay their eggs in, but also your plant choices for where they're going to eat. So right plant, right place. That means do a soil test. Don't find your favorite plant store with the plant sale and just buy the prettiest one and go plop it in. You want that plant to survive. The pollinators want that plant to survive. So if you do a soil test, the master gardeners in whatever county you're at can help you do that. They'll tell you how to collect the soil sample, and they can do the testing for you, and then they'll help you interpret it, and they'll keep that soil test on file. So when you call back the next year, like, what did I do? They can help you with that. You can plant things in drifts. So instead of planting, a plant here and a plant here and a plant here, and pollinators have to like spend a lot of energy going from plant to plant, flying across your yard, plant in drifts so that they can save their energy and just, skip nicely. And then it makes it easier to make their pictures. Think about planting 3 types of plants per season. Maybe one plant responds better to the drought that we're going to have in June, but there's 2 other plants to back it up. Another thing to think of is to plant for 3 blooming seasons, early, middle, and late. As we've seen, our weather is getting unstable, and we've had we're having warm days now. So thank goodness the pussy willows are blooming. The shad bushes are about to bloom. Like, I saw a bee out on the front walk, zooming around and like looking for food. So when the pollinators are waking up, you want to make sure that you have something there for them to eat. Same thing later, later in the year. In the middle of the year, like everybody's got stuff blooming, but it's really the shoulder seasons where they need, you could be there for pollinators. The other thing kind of practically is, 3 plants per season times 3 bloom seasons, that's 9 plants. So it's not, you don't have to like go nuts like a botanical garden. You can do this. So where will this lead? Like in my perfect world, everybody's yard would look like this. My yard would look like this. But I show these because on the far left is a commercial site in Woodstock. It's a very small kind of, tucked away place. But you see, it's not like off the chain. Everything is blooming fully, but there's a pathway to walk. The 2 pictures on the right-hand side are from Bread Alone in Boyceville at the mothership. And so they've got a handrail. They've got wide sidewalks, all those things that we have to have for our buildings, but they've managed to put native grasses around there. And these were both taken in the fall, which is like the best time to make these kinds of pictures. But again, you can do this. And yeah, master gardeners are there to help. How can you do this? So I thought of, I think about this in terms of like working backwards and forwards. So have a vision, think about what you want to accomplish, and then do an asset map. What do you already have that can help you realize how to install some native plants for your pollinators? So you have a good source of water. Do you have a lot of sunshine? Do you not have a lot of sunshine? How's your volunteer situation? So next up is go to your goals and objectives. A timeline is super useful. So there are good times to plant plants, maybe spring or fall. Middle of the summer is great, but if you're going to put in a wildflower meadow, fall is actually a better time for that. So think about your goals and objectives, and then that feeds into your maintenance and your installation plan. The next thing you want to think about further down is the sustainability. And you could think of it in terms of inputs, like how much you want to involve landscape companies, how much you want to involve your volunteers, how much gas you want to use. And then think about communication. This is a teachable moment. And we all have a platform and we have spaces that we can teach from. So we could use this. And so last but not least, think about communicating to your administration about why this is important. Think about communicating to your colleagues why this is important. So we do have resources. Moshe mentioned the LibGuide. We're going to flash up the QR code again. Cannot say enough how useful the Pollinate HV guide is. So this layout is on their website. They have design plans for different kinds of spaces, big, small, urban, rural. I love the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center. You can just look up all kinds of plants and all kinds of pictures. You can find out what regions they grow in. The Xerxes Society for Invertebrate Conservation. If you want to learn more about pollinators, this is the place to start. But they also have a really good planting guides for different regions in the country. And the New York Botanical Garden has some inspo and some fun videos, but also, they're just a good source of information. For the planning side, I cannot say enough about the cooperative extension, Cornell Cooperative Extension. Use the one in your county. Ulster County they're my peeps, and are super helpful. We sent our soil samples to Rutgers for an enhanced analysis. So that means they will talk about the mineral content of the soil. We're going to do a tree planting out front in the fall, and I want to make sure that the tree has right plant, right place. We picked the right thing that goes in there. Also, the Pollinate HV site has a list of local landscapers. So you totally can shop local with this. I heard at one of the presentations I went to that someone did a study of native plants that are found at big box stores like across the street, and they have neonicotinoids, like it's a systemic pesticide that is in their plant. So even if you pick a native plant from some places, it may not actually be doing the pollinators any good. So maintenance, big shout out to our landscape company, Two Brothers Landscaping and Tree Care. And again, the Sustainable Libraries Initiative that Claudia explained so well. So you can follow our journey. As Moshe said, we are just at the beginning of this. So we're going to have a facilities SIG in the summer to give an update, and if anybody wants to join us and like do this at your library, that's the place to talk about it. The other thing that we're going to do as part of our grant is go make site visits to libraries. And so our goal is like 1 member library in every county. But if y'all want to have more, then we can do that too. But we'll be doing that in the following winter, just to tell you how it went. And there's a QR code for our Project Lip Guide.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, stay tuned for
Stay
planting
tuned.
sessions and for possibly a ribbon cutting tree ceremony in the fall.
Yeah. Thank you.